Today we look back at 9/11, where hijackers crashed planes into the World Trade Center in New York and the Pentagon in Washington, D.C., with another plane crashing into a field in Pennsylvania when it was brought down by heroic passengers. An estimated 3,000 people were killed that day. In New York at 8:46 a.m., American Airlines Flight 11 slammed into the North Tower. Many thought this was a tragic accident. 17 minutes later, the South Tower was hit. It was obvious that this was no accident. The planes were hijacked by a group known as Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is a radical terrorist group founded in 1988 by Osama bin Laden. On impact, the wings disintegrated and the fuel cascaded out, causing a massive fire. The building was filled with smoke, immediately trapping people in the scorching heat. In Washington, D.C., 192 people were killed at the Pentagon. This included people that worked in the Pentagon and the passengers of the plane that struck the building. In a picture, the spot where the Pentagon was hit doesn't seem that big, but in reality, it is the size of a large shopping mall. The fourth plane might have hit the White House, but the passengers were aware of what happened with the other planes, so they decided to take action. The people fought the hijackers instead. They sadly couldn't take control of the plane and crashed on an empty field in Pennsylvania. 19 terrorists from the organization called Al-Qaeda were responsible for all of the attacks. They claimed responsibility for the deadly attack. On October 7, 2001, the U.S. announced the War on Terror. They began a military operation in Afghanistan called Operation Enduring Freedom. The goal was to capture the leader of the attacks, Osama bin Laden, who became fascinated by the concept of jihad. Jihad is a holy war waged on behalf of Islam as a religious duty. Bin Laden admitted to the attack, explaining his plan and plot. He chose long-distance flights since those planes were full of fuel. He thought that the flames would melt the steel structures of the buildings once the planes crashed into them, and he wasn't wrong. Besides the capture of Osama bin Laden, Operation Enduring Freedom also sought to strengthen U.S. security by destroying terrorist training facilities. On May 1, 2011, Osama bin Laden was killed by the U.S. Navy SEALs at 11:35 p.m. in Pakistan. The U.S. was roaring in triumph after that day. The 9/11 attacks are part of the reason security is so high these days. Back then, the airport and overall security at events were not as strict. Today, we are subject to increased surveillance. Surveillance is the close watch kept over someone or a group. This is due to the U.S. Patriot Act. It allowed for greater intelligence sharing and greater investigative powers. Intelligence is information concerning an enemy or possible enemy. In the spot where the towers once stood, a memorial was built to honor all people who lost their lives that day. That day, the names of the people who perished are carved on 2 squares that encompass the memorial. All of the victims' birthdays are observed by placing a white rose on the name of each victim on their birthday. New York has built a new World Trade Center called the Freedom Tower. This building is now the tallest building in North America. It contains a museum that honors and educates the visitors about the incidents on 9/11. Every year, people come together to honor those that died. It took the Pentagon about a year before they could reopen that section. 9/11 continues to be in the hearts and minds of people today. Thank you and good night.